So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do simple animations using keyframes. So we've already parented our car together, and I'm clicking and dragging on my element here, on the numbers here. I could even type in, so I could say 0. Or when you have your object selected, notice that now I've got it off as well, and the numbers are changing. So you've got a couple different ways to manipulate it. So what I want to do is to have this car come in from the left and move across the screen. So I'm going to hit the keyframe or the stopwatch to initialize a keyframe. And you'll see I get this little diamond that lets me know that's where this position has started. I don't need to hit this keyframe again. I'm going to jump forward in time to 10 seconds because I want this to go kind of slowly. And I'm going to shift this over here. If I hold down shift, it'll stay on the same position as I'm moving it. I'm just dragging it all the way across. Like so. And you see it auto-generated a keyframe for me. If I went to the middle and I wanted to have it zoom down a little bit or curve down, I could drag this down or drag it up, and you'll see it'll create another keyframe for me as well. Command Z, so it just stays straight. When I go back to the beginning and I press spacebar, it'll play forward. All right, it's moving across the screen. If I want to slow it down or speed it up, all I have to do is drag this keyframe closer to the first one. Now it goes a lot faster. Or if I want to slow it down, drag it way out. So the distance between the keyframes that you have will determine your speed. So I'm going to keep this like 10 seconds. And I'm going to go to the satellite, because I want the satellite to slowly move across the screen and bend at the same time. So I'm going to twirl this back up. And what I need to do is I need to adjust both the position and the rotation. And you'll notice that there's this little icon in the center of this object. That is the anchor point for how your object both rotates and scales. So if I twirl this down, I can see rotation. It'll rotate around the center of the object because we did retain layer sizes. Retain layer sizes put the anchor point in the center of the image. Otherwise, it would be in the center of the entire composition image itself, rather than being on just the layer. We can move this anchor point. So say I wanted to rotate around like this solar panel. If I go up to the top and do the pan behind tool, I can drag this over to the edge. And now when I rotate it, notice it is rotating along that axis, right? I'm going to undo that and have it just go back to the center. And I'm going to initialize both a rotation keyframe and a position keyframe because I want to change both the position and the rotation at the same time. And notice that it created keyframe wherever I have my blue playhead. So I actually want to draw a selection around these and drag these back to the beginning. So that way, and I can hold down shift and it'll snap to certain points. So it's gonna, if I hold down shift and I'm dragging these keyframes, they'll snap to the beginning of a layer, my edge right here, of where the blue playhead is, or the end of a layer. And so now I'm going to go back to my move tool and move this over here. And I'm going to go and rotate it just slightly. And I can either use the rotations here. So I'm going to rotate it this way so it just slowly curves. Go back to the middle. And I can select my keyframes here, and I can do a little bit of a curve, grabbing onto these handles. So I actually want this to be a curve rather than a just straight line. So now we'll see this flows across when I press spacebar. It has to render a little bit. It's going to take a second. So it's not playing back in real time. And you'll see this render bar up here that shows us that it's loading. So now it's showing us real time. If I go back, cool, pretty smooth. If you want to have it run faster, you can change this resolution to quarter, and you can see the quality just changed, but it'll load way faster. And especially if you're not working on a desktop, this is maybe a better option for you. You'll notice here that we have other options like scale and opacity, and they work exactly the same way as these keyframes, where I initialize one and I can change it over time. You can unlink the scale if you want to change one size of the width to be different than the height. But one thing about rotation that you'll notice here is it's going up to 26 degrees, 30 degrees. I'm going to hold down shift so it snaps. Click here. If I change this first number to 1, I'm going to change these to 0. Oh, let's go back to 1. Notice that when I start going back, it's going to start at 360 and go down. So this is full rotations. So if I come back here and I say something crazy like 5, now this thing is going to spin all over the place as it moves across. And then, you know, maybe let's see how that looks. Now it really feels like it's in space. All right. So I think that's a good place to stop. That's a basic introduction to keyframes and starting to set them up. In the next video, we're going to look at looping movement, because that could be really helpful with something like the wheels.